We're 100% remote now.
Okay,
Just for like-
so now I'm just gonna take a roll call, since JJ's in the internet world. Brian Murphy, present.
Mark Corwin, present.
Steve Feeney, present.
Brian Sullivan?
Heidi Conway.
Grover Hensley in the internet world.
Thank you. All right, so we'll start with 23-05, Ronan 953 LLC. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to raise the existing structure and construct a new 24-foot by 26-foot family two-story dwelling with a detached 13 by 20-foot detached garage on the property located at 8 Branch Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel N060308 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Name and address for the record.
Sure. Gregory Morse, registered professional engineer, Morse Engineering.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Great. Representing the applicant, Ronan 953 LLC. With me tonight is Ted Ahern, the property owner. It's a special permit request in accordance with the bylaw to raise and rebuild a single-family home located at 8 Branch Street in the Green Harbor neighborhood. This is located in the R3 zoning district, also the floodplain overlay district. Depicted up on the screen is a copy of the plot plan that we submitted. The site is previously developed with a single-family home and detached garage. Per the assessor's records, it was built circa 1918. It's beyond, what's there is beyond poor condition. My client purchased the property in 2021. The MLS listing says beyond salvageable, must be torn down. And I think the photos to the left kind of speak for themselves. The house itself is in really poor structural shape. Aside from that, the property is non-compliant with respect to any FEMA regulations. It predates your zoning bylaw, and it's non-conforming in several aspects, including lot size being at 4,574 square feet where 10,000 is required, frontage at 49.71 feet where 80 is required, lot width at 47 feet where 80 is required, lot depth of 67.2 where 100 is required, the front yard setback at 12.9 where 15 is required, and the side yard setback to the right at 0.4 feet where 15 feet is required. The proposal here is to construct a new single-family home, largely in the same location. The main box of that home is 26 by 24 feet. It's a 2.5-story structure. It has an attached garage off the back. I would note this plan on the screen is not the final site plan. What I've brought with me and what's on the board here, this is the updated site plan. It included a connection from the garage to the house, so it is one structure as opposed to two separate structures. The new building is fully FEMA compliant. I'd add that we've been to the Conservation Commission. We've had our first meeting with them. They looked favorably upon the project. They are awaiting what we hope is your approval before they ultimately issue an order of conditions. With the new proposal, it corrects the nonconformity with respect to the front yard. It proposes the building at 15.5 feet, again, where the existing building was nonconforming. And it brings all other nonconformities into greater compliance with the bylaw, most notably the right yard setback, which existed at 0.4 feet. It brings it to a 6-foot proposed distance. Given that this is the replacement of an existing structure, other residences in the area are of similar size and similar character in the district, that a single-family home is an allowed use in the district, that this corrects the front yard nonconformity and brings all other nonconformities into greater compliance. We think this will have a positive impact on abutting property values and hope that the zoning board will issue the special permit. Turn it over to you.
Okay, Andrew, you had some notes in here.
6 feet.
Is there anything you'd like to elaborate, or?
Put it this way, is there anything in my notes that anybody has any questions on?
Yeah, I do, Andrew. Brian Sullivan. What's the history of this from your perspective? Because from the sounds of it, this guy just was doing stuff willy-nilly until you called him to task, and now it looks as though they're trying to get their house in order.
Yeah, a little bit of that. So I became building inspector in 2018. Obviously came down and saw while doing inspections in the area, I came down and I saw the house looking like this, really not in good condition. The front porch was falling down, the structural supports were failing. The accessory structure outside in the back that had a wood stove apparently, I felt was unsafe and dangerous. These pictures definitely showed all those conditions. There was all sorts of stuff piled up.
Did you issue a condemnation order?
I didn't. I informed the building commissioner at the time of all of this. The building commissioner informed me that he knew the property owner. He was a local lobsterman. That he didn't want to have any violations or fines against this guy, and he would talk to them and figure it out and help him do that. So I left it to the building commissioner at the time. Then I became the building commissioner in 2020. I was doing an inspection in the neighborhood. There's a house across the street that was kind of in disrepair. The house directly next door had a stop work order and some work that was done on it without permit. And so kind of my attention got redirected again to this area. And around that time, the front porch was demolished. The structures to the side and around the house were all demolished. Everything was kind of regraded with new, gravel and everything. But no permits had been pulled for any of it. So I issued a notice of violation, floodplain violation, zoning violation, building code violation. I don't know if the Conservation Commission followed up with any sort of violation as far as the alterations that happened on site without their approval, but I left that to them. The rest of it, none of it was appealed. The owner filed for a building permit. I requested a site plan. My intention with requesting the site plan was so that we could document the pre-existing nature of the structures before they were demolished. But none of that was presented to me at the time I requested it. And now all of a sudden we have a new building permit with a site plan that shows the location of the structures that were demolished before a site plan existed. So that's kind of where I'm at with this.
May I respond?
Sure.
Great, thank you. So my client purchased the property in November of 2021. So some of those items that were just referenced are prior to the applicant even owning the property. In January of '22, which was 2 months later, the front porch came off the existing building and the garage out back was demolished. My client had been to town hall here, had talked with the conservation agent. I understand that he stopped at the building department but did not have a chance to talk with the building inspector. The property was a blight. As Andrew points out, it looks like it was in structurally poor condition. My client took down that back structure and took down the front porch because he considered it a hazard. Put plastic over the windows, made the property secure, and we're coming forth with what we see as a legitimate application so that he can move forward. He obviously made, the application for a building permit, I think, prematurely. This needs zoning board of approval. Obviously, it's a non-conforming lot. We're here to remedy to that. We filed with conservation at this point. We'd like to move forward, obviously, in good faith and get the permits that are necessary to complete the job.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
Where do they stand with the Historical Commission?
I think application has been made to them for demolition of the structure, but they haven't ruled on it yet.
Anyone else?
Well,
Can I just comment again,
Yep.
real quick? So, the other crux of this whole determination with this situation is this. We've had two different iterations of the site plan here. So this is the site plan that was submitted to the ZBA for an accessory garage that expanded the footprint beyond of what apparently had been there before. That proposal, I told them, was not floodplain compliant because it didn't have flood openings, and also I cautioned them that because the previous structure was demolished without a permit and didn't have a site plan beforehand, we couldn't verify where that all really was, that the ZBA may not grant them an expansion of, this, they don't have the 10 feet between the two structures. And that where you're expanding the footprint of the accessory structure, they may not allow you to have that. And I cautioned them against that.
Oh my God.
So in response to that, the second, this was what was uploaded to the floodplain permit, and this is what is currently in front of the Conservation Commission. I don't know if it was submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, but this is on the floodplain permit. So now that it is to connect the garage to the dwelling unit with a sort of, I'll bring those over, but a kind of a connection between the two that serves as like I don't know, stairs or something. I wasn't quite clear how that was going to be achieved. And part of my issue with that is a new enclosure that needs its own flood openings. And so what was proposed, this little area here, is not compliant with flood zone regulations, and I'm not necessarily sure that it meets the real definition of an attached garage because it doesn't share that kind of common wall. So those were my concerns with the updated plans, and I wasn't sure if the ZBA had these updated plans based on what was in the file.
Okay. So Andrew, if they connect the two with that, go back to can you go to that site plan that they presented tonight? So if they connect those two and the buildings are now connected, would it be more, this would be in compliance now, or you're saying it wouldn't be in compliance?
it would have to be.
The breezeway's not.
You just get that close that gap, and then it's in compliance.
But even if the gap's left there, they're still attached. So now you have a front, a side, a side, a side, and a rear, and a side back to the front.
So we saw it as an attached structure. It's all under one roof. That connection basically is a set of steps because the first floor of the house, which is habitable space, has to be elevated up above the floodplain. The garage can't be elevated up above the floodplain, but where it's dry storage, you're allowed to have a floor area below flood elevation. It has to be equipped with vents. You'll notice that the note at the bottom right of the corner of the screen there calls out that flood vents, in accordance with NFIP requirements, it's noted two places on the plan, would be on the building. So we would have flood vents. If we need to add another one, we certainly will, but it's our intent for full FEMA compliance here.
So Andrew, now that the two buildings are attached,
I guess my intent, and this is kind of what I tried to suggest through the floodplain permit, is trying to understand why you would have this whole connection that would require separate flood vents in here, and have even the the question that this might be considered a detached building, separate from the principal dwelling, and instead move this over, and this shared wall would share this wall, and you continue this front line, you have the stairs that go down in, and you just move this whole structure over closer to this, and extend it, and have the garage as part of the principal dwelling, you can still do that. You can still have the flood openings in that. The garage can still be down on the grade level. You can just have a stairs and a platform that goes up into the house. Like, I was trying to understand why this design, which would be far less compliant with building code and FEMA regulations than what I was trying to propose, which would be moving the garage closer to the principal dwelling and moving it forward so it was more in line with the other line of the building along here. And that you gained that room in the back. You keep that line and put your stairs and your access in, and you can still have your garage in this area, and it's still within the building envelope of what was originally existing, and you're not dealing with any kind of aspect of a demolished structure, an illegally demolished structure that you really don't know exactly where it was. That's what I was trying to get at with suggesting why you would move the garage closer to the house, have it actually constructed with a shared wall between them. It can still be down at grade level. That's totally compliant with FEMA and building code. And my question was, why would you create this like kind of walkway over and try to, keep it in that location? And that was my purpose of it, raising that issue.
All right, the only thing, so when I see this though, with whether that garage was there or not, we have a side setback on the right side of, it looks like the minimum was 6 feet or something. And
Yeah,
that-
it was 6 feet. It was right here in this corner, and that is to the house. That's the that's accurate to the actual house. The porch that was demolished was actually went beyond that. It went over here right to the property line. So he's going right to the house exactly to the foundation and disregarding the structure that was demolished as far as the porch. So I have no problem with that 6 feet.
But that 6 feet would end up carrying all the way up the right side line, where that 7.9 is, that would have, as long as that's less than 6 feet, that conforms.
My feeling, honestly, in this was there were two separate structures. I mean, that's what's shown on this plan. You have a separate structure right here, and you have a separate structure down here, so that's what's shown.
Yeah, but whatever the shape is, doesn't as long as the 6 feet and the 7.9 feet are conforming with what we have on the existing right-hand side, he's allowed to do that, isn't he?
This 7.9 only applies to this accessory structure.
But if it's attached,
That's not the setback to the principal structure.
but if it's attached, doesn't it make it part of the principal structure now?
That's the discussion for the ZBA to decide. My interpretation is no. I mean, it's shown on the plan as a detached structure, and it was demolished illegally without a permit, and I never received a site plan.
I understand that, Andrew, but if he just tore, if he came to us, he came to us without that, he still could go to that 7.9 because it's more than 6 feet. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No,
No?
it's a different side.
There's only,
This side.
there's the right side and, what do you mean it's a different side? There's a side setback on the left and the right?
Side setback.
You
Well,
have,
they don't-
the way the code, the way that the bylaw reads is 15 on either side. So,
Correct. But just because they have 6 feet here doesn't mean they get 6 feet on every single side.
no, 6 feet would travel up the length of the right-hand side of the building. So it would go all the way to the rear of the building, the rear of the lot, which pull that down, the rear of the lot, the rear setback in this house, keep pulling that down. is back there at 17.06. That is the rear lot line. All the rest are sides.
I agree.
So the right-hand side is, you would build an envelope of 6 feet all the way up to the rear at 30 feet. And then you would come down the other side at 15.
15 feet in would be conforming for,
But Andrew, it's the pre-existing non-conforming status is 6 feet on the right-hand side. The sides don't change. Doesn't matter where the side goes, it's still a side. It's the right side.
no, it absolutely does determine which side, Brian. Absolutely, you can't grant 6 feet on this side just because they have 6 feet on the right side. You can't give them. 6
I
feet on
understand that.
this
That is
side.
the left side, Andrew. You've ran back all the way to the rear.
All right,
You've
but
hit the
listen,
rear.
Brian, each line is its own.
No, that's not correct. That's not correct.
Okay, so before we even get to that,
No, there's one side on the right and one side on the left.
so,
This lot here has 4 side lines. This
No, it has,
this
they could have 20, it doesn't matter, that's still the right
this
side.
is required to have a 15-foot.
No, it is not, that's not how we've ever determined this. We've always determined that whatever side is the side, we've had ones that had angle cuts in them, it still is the right side of the lot, till you get to the rear, then you get to the left side of the lot. That is where the building envelope goes.
Right here, you can see the building envelope is drawn by the registered land surveyor right here from 15 feet from this sideline.
But Andrew, it's the side is the side. You can't pick different sides and say, oh, all of a sudden it changed to 15. Oh, now we're at, the right side is what you are grandfathered. That's what your non-conformance run. If you built the building envelope, it would go 6 feet all the way down to the rear lot line.
Bob, can you confirm this or not? I mean, he's got 6 feet to
Different
this
sideline.
sideline.
Andrew's
Other
right.
than that, he has, from the back of the existing structure to this sideline, he's only got whatever the building envelope, 15 feet from that sideline. Otherwise, it's 6 feet. Can you confirm that, please, Bob?
I did, yes.
Okay, so where do you see that in the definitions?
Any line that's not a front or a rear is a sideline.
Side lot line.
But that's not the same sideline. Andrew's right, that's a different.
How can
way.
it be a different sideline? We've done this in the past, and I know that we've had people build boxes, and some of them came in at different angles, Bob, and we had this argument with Jerry, that the right side is the right side and the left side is
Except where you have more than one side.
correct,
Over front
it's one
and
side.
rear.
It doesn't change until you get to the rear lot line. Get pull the definition up and show it.
I will.
so I have a question about the demolished shed, garage, whatever that was. Is there not a waiting period after something's demolished?
It's 3 years. Not allowed, if he demolishes the structure without a demolition permit, he's barred for 3 years unless the Historic Commission grants relief. And they can't grant any relief less than 6 months.
Could I just ask a simple question, because I'm the person that tore it down? Does anybody care that life safety is a real concern here? This thing was like leaning on top of the building.
You just had to get a building permit.
Well, hold on a second, I came in here to get a building permit, all due respect, I went downstairs,
Hey.
I asked, and I was told if I
Your
don't.
name and address for the record.
My name's Edward Thomas Ahern Jr. My address is 739 Ocean Street, Marshfield, as well as 24 Chelmsford Street, Dorchester, Mass. So, I came in here, I asked the lady downstairs, could I just see the building inspector, please? I said, I have an unsafe and dangerous. She said, send him an email, that's the only way he'll communicate with you. I said, okay, I don't email, I'll just come back. Can I make an appointment? No, we don't take appointments. I said, everybody takes appointments. So that's what I got. So I came back, I said, I'll be back the same time next week. I came down here, made sure I come up, and we had a disgruntled argument about it. And then when I came back, the lady said, no, you have to, I said, I'm here, why can't somebody see me? You're working for the general public. I pay taxes just like everybody else does, why can't I be seen? And that's all I asked of. Then I was told no. But then, when I was told I couldn't have an appointment, I called Jeffrey Putnam from the state of Massachusetts, the state building inspector, and I said, look, I have an unsafe and dangerous. I said, you can look at it. So he looked it up on his computer, looked at the address, and said, take it down. That's what I was told to do. So I'm sorry if I screwed up by taking it down, but if a firefighter ever walked in there, and as he said, there was an old wood burning stove, that whole thing was ready for collapse. That should never have been, that should have been cited. The building inspector told me himself, as he told you tonight, that he was told not to touch it, but it should have been deemed in 2018. As his words, not mine. And I'm not putting any words in his mouth, that's what he told me, and that's exactly everything that's happened on this. And unfortunately for me, I made it safe. And I cleaned up the property just so the neighbors wouldn't be looking at something ugly until I went through the process, which I started to. And then I was asked for more and more documents. At that time, I engaged Morse. And that's what's happened, and that's the whole story.
Okay. But getting back to this lot line thing, I know I'll, if we end up continuing this, I know of examples that we've done this on where that right number is carried all the way down because that is the right side. And what is our bylaw? How does the bylaw read? I mean, how does it read for the R3? Does it say there's any number of sides on the house?
Any lot line that is not a front lot line or a rear lot line, or that
Is
not
a
front
side lot
a
line.
rear lot line, or a straight line, is a side line.
I understand that, but where does it say that it just says in this, what does it read? It says 15 on the right, 15 on the left.
Look under yards, Andrew. Yards.
It's the table of dimension and density regulations.
Correct.
Okay? Minimum yards, side.
Side left.
Anything used in an R3 is 15 on any side yard.
Right. So it's one side and the other side. I know that we've carried that number. We've done this a lot in the past, Andrew, and I'll have Nancy dig up the files on it.
Brian, I'm gonna say it again. I've said it a million times. I understand in the past things may have been done a little differently, and I interpret things a little bit differently. But I'm doing my due diligence. I'm clearing with Bob. Bob agrees on my interpretation here. You know,
He disagreed with Jerry in the
probably
past,
did it
so
wrong in the
it's
past.
interesting.
Fine.
Truth's the truth.
So, Andrew, looking at the plan of Morse Engineering dated January 3rd, is it your opinion, or is it your opinion that the rear lot line is the 1706 and the 25.79 line?
No. My interpretation is the lot line is this, the rear lot line is 17.06. That is the rear lot line, okay? The front and street lot line is this, okay?
Okay.
Then we have a side line here, a side line here, a side line here, and a side line here. So we have a 15-foot setback off of each of these side lines to the principal structure, okay? The principal structure that was existing at the time was in conformance with the side lot lines and the rear lot lines for the rear of the dwelling, okay? The accessory structure was in non-conformity with the side lines, okay? And it was also in non-conformity with the proximity to the principal dwelling, and it clearly could be argued that it was attached at some point in some manner. How that manner was and in what shape that manner was and how it was done is argumentative. We can, that's evidence.
Andrew, is it fair to say that you would have condemned this had you been the building commissioner in 2018 when you went and saw it the first time?
I would have issued them a notice of violation. I would have ordered them to make the repairs to make it safe and secure. I do not deny people meeting with me and setting up with meetings with
Well,
me.
no, but I'm going back to 2018, Andrew.
We do not deny. In fact, I make site visits. I go above and beyond with flood zone properties to make sure that they're in compliance before they get into these situations.
Andrew, going back to 2018, does the photo in the lower right, does that reflect what you saw, give or take?
Two houses right here. I'll bring up the pictures right now from what I saw when I was the building inspector. If you can.
So this is. I guess my question is, if this were demolished in 2018, if you had condemned it in 2018, as from the sounds of it was your inclination, this would not be an issue today, because it would have been torn down and he wouldn't have that 3-year waiting period.
Which was precisely my point when I issued the stop work order and I requested the I requested the site plan and some sort of documentation of what had been there before. At the time when I requested a demolition permit to resolve the notice of violation, right? But none of that documentation, the site plan that I requested, was granted. I think the rest of the documentation that was requested might have been from the Conservation Commission because of the gravel driveway, the unpermitted demolition in border, in a border buffer zone, there's salt marsh and land subject to coastal storm flowage and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I took these pictures and, because I was concerned about this structure and I brought it up to the building commissioner at the time. And
Now, is the
I was told, the guy's a local lobsterman and go talk to him and go figure it out. And
is that garage connected in that photo, Andrew?
Looks like it is.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Is the garage connected in your photo? I mean, it looks like it's close, but I can't see.
It looks connected. Oh, maybe not.
They're close. They're right next to each other. They basically butt right into each other.
So,
Conservation did not issue any sort of enforcement for the work that was done down at this property.
they were fine with it.
Any formal enforcement of any kind.
Thank you, Andrew.
Oh.
So when we made the original application here, we had this plan here that you see on the screen, which was two separate structures. Our intent was to replace a house where there was an existing house and essentially to replace a garage where there was a separate detached garage. After this was submitted, it was suggested that we connect them. And so we made the connection. We revised the plan and submitted the plan with the connection. So that's how that was developed. We didn't anticipate an issue with respect to the setback to the lot line that's labeled 25.79 feet. Because the existing structure there was at 7.2 feet off that lot line, our proposal is now at 7.9. It's in greater compliance.
I still want, Bob, did you figure out where that thing is that says that the line changes? Because I can tell you, we had a deep conversation about this, many meetings. We even got to the point where, I don't know if you remember it, we drew the radius, because he was trying to show us that he took a radius and he cut the middle of the radius and said that is where that 6 feet would end. And the board disagreed, and we argued back. In our argument, we said the right-hand side of this building is entitled to 6 feet all the way down to the 30-foot setback from 17 feet. And that was their building envelope on the right, and the 15 feet would be on the left. And I can tell you, we've done plenty of houses like that, and that was the argument. The whole thing is whether it's a 90-degree turn or a slight radius or slanted cuts, where do you determine that 6 feet ends? And how do you determine it?
So,
And you were the one, we had this argument. The board decided to build an envelope.
I remember a house on, I thought it was Marginal Street, and there was a different leg. But we
was.
didn't have the issue that we have with this,
Which is what?
because the structure was non-conforming in more than one spot, in more than one line. It was different from this. But I think Andrew's right. Those are both side lot lines, and
But so where do you lose the pre-existing non-conforming status of 6 feet, where does it end, and how do you?
Well, first of
where
all,
is
you
that
have to
determined?
At the lot corner. At the lot corner. The lot line ends at the lot corner, and that's when you lose the 6 feet. And now you have to go back to 15 feet off of this line. And that's why the land surveyor drew the building envelope 15 feet off of that. Because that's how the land surveyor interprets that.
Well, that's not how we have in the past. And I know we had a long discussion about
It was a
this.
Rockwood
It
thing.
went on
Yeah,
for
you know.
several meetings.
It was a
And we
marginal
came up
street.
with the building envelope that we would create. If you had 6 feet on the right-hand side, there's ones that came to us.
I
that had-
understand that, Brian, but you've got
half
a land
circles.
surveyor, a lawyer, and a building commissioner that are all telling you that it should be 15 feet off of that side lot line.
You know, the first thing you gotta do is determine whether it was connected. Because if it's a connected house,
But
then you're
Bob,
dealing
it
with,
doesn't, none of that mattered in the way we used to do this. It used to be the 6 feet ran the length of that right line. And that was it. That was
6
our
feet
building envelope. It
would-
ran all the way up to the 17 feet, 30 feet back.
we've had different legs, and I remember a case where we had a different leg. There was nonconformity on both legs of the side lot lines. I don't ever remember this specific circumstance.
I'll dig it up because I know.
It's either marginal street or it's Canal
Back when
Street.
Jerry was here, and it was, they were actually round, they were round, and he was trying to cut it back this way, saying where
Round
it
one.
went round, it was a radius, and he was trying to bisect the radius.
I don't remember a round one. I remember
They
other,
still were changes, and you agreed, and then that's what we came up with. And
I
that's
don't-
what we've done since then, that
I
I know
don't-
of.
I don't remember a round one.
This
I
is a
do-
new interpretation to me. I've been here almost 9 years.
Yeah. I think this becomes a moot point if we look very closely at that picture that Andrew had up of when he inspected it in 2018, and I think Attorney Galvin was just talking about. If we determine that that back structure was attached to the front structure or touching that structure, it becomes one structure. Therefore, that back structure existing at 7.2 feet off of that line, whether you consider it a sideline or a different sideline, as long as we're not closer than what existed, we would be grandfathered at that pre-existing setback.
And furthermore, it looks as though that is some sort of rolled roofing or some sort of tarp. I would say that's a continuous roof system, because you're not gonna want the water to funnel from both of those roofs down the siding. You're gonna wanna channel it away from, and toward the side yard. So I would say that is connected. And to the applicant's point, I think he knows he should have got a building permit. And shame on him for not getting one, but you can't say that that's the kind of structure that would be safe to leave up. He didn't take the dwelling down, he took down the unsafe portion of the dwelling. And I think that gets him past that 3-year moratorium. He took down the portion that was unsafe, left what was safe. And then having said that, he's extending a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling, and it's gonna be flood compliant, it's gonna meet all the FEMA regulations. Brian, I'm sorry, I don't know why you get your knickers in a knot about the sideline, I don't think it's an issue.
I'm just saying, for future reference, I want to make sure that's clear.
Let's just deal with what's in front of
Really
us.
did not, if that works for tonight, that works for tonight.
Okay, so where we at, guys?
So I guess
So,
we're
should I be
determining.
clear that this is, I know that the other plan, that this is the plan that was submitted to the ZBA, but this is the plan that's actually submitted to the floodplain permit.
Yeah, that's the one he brought here tonight that's in front of us.
Correct.
Did he not send that to you, or? Why don't you hold it up so he can see it?
No,
I-
he has it up there.
I have it. I just, I wanted to make sure that this is the one that's going on record. This is the one that they, that you guys are looking at and are aware, right?
And that's the one that's gonna be
This is
built.
obviously the one that I had issues with as well. That I don't, my issue is I have no I am fully aware of the 6-foot setback on the right-hand side. I have no problem with that. If the board determines that it's an attached structure and they have rights to the 7.2 setbacks on that other sideline, I have no problem with that, okay? What I have a problem with is it appears to me by the definition of the bylaw that it is a detached structure and it's attached by a non-floodplain compliant manner. And what I had suggested was, I just didn't understand why they wouldn't bring that garage closer to the house, away from the setback, and make it more flood zone compliant with less cost of less flood vents. And that's all I was trying to do, was
Did we
to
actually hear
literally
that? Did you answer that
decrease
question?
the work
I can
and
answer that.
decrease the cost to the client.
The answer to that is, any project I've ever done in Marshfield, it's considered an attached structure if it's physically attached, the foundation is attached, the roof structure is attached. It's an attached structure. That is not a detached structure. Secondly, with regards to FEMA compliance, the project has to comply with FEMA. The cost of an additional flood vent or 2 flood vents, if necessary, isn't gonna kill this project. We'll add them in if the building inspector deems it necessary. The note on the plan is that we will have full FEMA compliance. Concrete foundation to be built in accordance with all NFIP standards and equipped with flood vents. That's what it says on the plan. We have to comply. It's a federal
I agree
standard.
with all of that.
So,
I agree with all that.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there a reason, why is that designed that way? Like, what is that 5 feet gonna be used for? Is there something going there? Is there like a fire compliance issue where it's 5 feet apart? Do we have to change like the siding there, or why wouldn't you bring it closer? And like Andrew said, and just
the 5 feet
fix
is
all the problems right now.
the 5 feet is what's necessary to have a set of stairs that make up the almost 3 feet of vertical difference from the first floor down to the garage slab.
Okay.
That's what dictates it.
But
Yep,
my
that answers my
question,
question.
my question was, honestly, if the front wall of the garage is moved up to be in line with this, and then the whole thing is moved over, you then have room for stairs. And obviously you don't need 5 feet for those stairs. You only need the 30 or the 42 inches. So you would have that room by moving this up and moving it over.
We don't want to move. We don't want to move the face of the
You don't
garage
want to-
forward
that's
because
what I wanted to do.
because you
don't
need
want-
vehicular turning movement in front of the garage. You don't want to move it forward. Doesn't make sense to.
And you'll want a landing within the vestibule and not above, so you'll have the door swing out, flow of traffic. Okay,
Correct.
so you'd have to be greater than 42 inches.
Is there anybody here that we?
Oh, yeah,
Where did that lady go?
the woman wanted to speak on this.
She's probably like, I gotta go home.
Oh, she left? Oh. All right, so is there anything else, anything from the audience? Is everyone on the board good?
I'm good.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we close Ranch Street, 23-05, Ronan 953 LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Romanzi, yeah.
All right. Want to read that in?
Well, first of all, I find that the garage was attached to the main dwelling.
I agree.
And in that the demolition that was undertaken by the applicant without the benefit of a building permit should not have been done. However, I believe that it was done to protect health and safety of the general public. And therefore, I don't believe that he is subject to the 3-year moratorium on doing anything with the project because it was done for health and safety reasons. And I move that we grant the applicant the relief that he seeks in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield zoning bylaw to raise the existing structure and construct a new dwelling on the property that is FEMA compliant, meets meets the historical commission requirements, and is in conservation commission requirements, subject to the plan. I don't have the date on the current
It's on
plan.
there, it's on there.
It's on this one, though, right here.
2723.
2723.
Oh, the new plan, yeah. So then the conditions for the building permit and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just have one more question? I'm sorry. When you applied to the historic situation, like, I agree, it had to be knocked down, it's dangerous, I get that. But did you put in there anything about the 3 year to have that waived, just so that that's covered, you know, if that was part of it, or?
I don't think we did, but we have not met with them at this point either, so I'm going to make sure to bring
That'll
that
be
up.
part of
Can
the
that be added
decision.
to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
Yeah, it's up to the historic commission, not this board.
Right, so we're just giving them this permit conditioned on.
Be subject to
Subject.
compliance with all other
All other, yeah.
local rules and regulations.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Is there a second?
And we all agree 1 to 10 on
Second.
the thing there. Second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Mark Owen, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Ryan Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Grover?
Garbanzo,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Bring lots of photos to the historical folks.
Will do.
Andrew has them if you need them.
He may
You're
not share.
so fresh, Brian.
And I am 100% available to meet with any engineer, any contractor, or any owner, honestly.
Andrew, everyone knows you can fill out a building
You just have
permit
to call
online.
the office and schedule an appointment.
Or you
That's
just go
the thing.
online and fill out a
I just
building
want,
permit.
when I'm in a flood zone, I want somebody to call the office and schedule an appointment. It's very difficult when you just show up at the window at the end of the day and claim that your house is you know, needs to get demolished.
Listen, we know you're very good at your job and you talk to everybody.
Next up, 2306.
Yep. David Good, the petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 and 305-902 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to replace the existing non-conforming house with a
Bring
new
your lunch
32 by 50 feet dwelling and reconstruction, 12 feet by 14 feet, shed on the property located at 17 Idaho Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L040917, is located in R3 zoning district. Go ahead.
Yes, Richard Savant with Stemmeck and Tail. This is David Good, the property owner. As you stated, Mr. Chair, we have an existing home here that's also in bad condition that needs to be replaced. Does not warrant restoration of the existing structure. Proposing a new structure on this property. We are in the R3. We are not in a flood zone for once, but this one is high and dry. And we are improving on all of the setbacks for the existing house. The existing front of the house, the proposed front of the house will comply. Left and right sides will both be improved from the existing condition, as well as the rear will go from a non-conforming rear to a compliant 30.2-foot rear. The building coverage is under the required 40%. We're at 27.7% building coverage with the new structure. The other part of the project is the shed at the back right. There is an existing shed out there that the homeowner would like to reconstruct in the same footprint and in the same position. Add an outdoor shower to the left side of it. There's some gravel surface to the left side of it with an outdoor shower, as a lot of houses in the neighborhood have. That's essentially what we're hoping to do. Build this new home, we fit it to the existing footprint as best we could, front and left. There is obviously a little larger component to the right there, but it's only an increase of 213 square feet overall, with the patio in between, and then reconstruct that existing shed. That's what we're hoping to do. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Anyone?
So did you do your application for the, or whatever, for the
Historical?
historical?
Yes, I actually already met with them. They approved it. I have copies of that if you guys would like to see them.
Sweet.
I can confirm that they have gotten that approval.
So Andrew, the only thing you have a problem with is with the shed?
I don't even have a problem with the shed, quite
Okay.
honestly. I mean, I can confirm that it's been there for more than 10 years. It's less than 200 square feet, so it doesn't require a building permit under state building code standards for a residential accessory structure. So it doesn't need to have the fire rated walls within 5 feet, but it does exceed the 64 square feet requirement for a structure, a covered structure in Marshfield for his building permit under zoning bylaws. So it requires some sort of zoning approval or building permit under the zoning bylaw.
Okay. So we'd be giving it the pre-existing non-conforming status, or legal non-conforming status. Is that right, Bob?
Yep.
Legal non-conforming. Okay.
With the shed?
Yeah. That's what it has, legal non-conforming status.
And I'll bring up a Google Earth image of it from more than 10 years ago if you want.
No, we don't. You already told it. So, do
Believe
any
you.
questions from the board? Grover? Oh, that's right. Any questions from the audience? Online audience? Seeing that there's none. I'll make a motion. What?
Well, I'm glad that's being cleaned up. That house is a mess.
You already purchased the property?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's this deed doing this over?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure. Deed doing from 86.
The deed. I'm sorry.
No, that obviously should not have been part of the application if there was a new deed. It's a land court certificate.
I have copies of the deed too if you guys needed to see those.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
registered.
It looks like maybe the applicant, yeah,
The certificate relates to him.
right. Really? Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we close 2306 David Good, 17 Idaho Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mark Wall, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway,
So, now,
can you give copies of that stuff to Nancy?
Yeah.
Not right now, but she just,
Yep.
you get them to her?
so I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions of a, Andrew, they need a building permit,
Building permit and a certificate of occupancy and a certified as-built.
okay,
And
they need the
historical
floodplain thing?
He's gonna give it to
Nope,
Nancy.
They're all
not
set?
in the flood.
All right, and a historical,
Yep, he's
There
giving it
you
to
have
you.
it.
oh, they have it, okay, that's right, you
And
told
the
us.
new deed.
And, yeah, he's gonna give us a deed, so, to permit the alteration or extension of a non-conforming home and garage, allowing the raising and reconstruction of a 32-foot by 50-foot dwelling, and reconstruct a 12-foot by 14-foot shed on the property located at 17 Idaho Street, shown on the sketch plans. Architecturals by David P. Tonig, R.A., dated 11/22, and location plan by Stenbeck and Taylor. Richard Savant, PLS, showing proposed location of home in R3 zoning district, based on the finding that the applicant has demonstrated that he meets all the requirements in section 1012.
Brian,
And
limit.
I had
What?
one thing I'd just like to add to that, Brian. The shed size is actually 13 by 11.
13 by 11.
Yeah, I know
I
it
see,
was
okay,
posted,
so
and I just want to
correction.
make that clear, so when this thing's rebuilt.
You're rebuilding 13 by
As shown on the
11.
plan, yep, it's a
All right, so-
13 by 11 shed.
So 13 by 11. Nancy?
Here's a copy of the deed, by the way. I just looked it up on the registry of deeds.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize for that, that was a mistake to have
Yeah, no, I
that
didn't-
wrong deed in there.
And we all agree with the 1 to 10 application?
I do.
Everyone does, yes. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mark Corwin, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
David,
Good luck.
the next hearing, so. So we have,
Yes.
Nancy, is Wayne DeRosa here?
Well, I am.
Yeah.
Wade was gonna try and tune in via Zoom, but I'm not sure if he's up there or
So
not.
we have 2307 Wayne DeRosa. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1012 and 305-902 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to replace the existing non-conforming house with a 49-foot by 39-foot two-story single-family dwelling on the property located at 60 West Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M0603-12 and is located in the R3 zoning district. Go ahead.
Yes, Richard Savant again with Stenbeck and Taylor. I prepared this plan and conducted a lot of the survey work on it. Would you like me to review the previous special permit that the homeowner did, or are we just gonna treat this as a new application altogether?
I think we just,
Okay, so yeah, so we have as shown on the plan, we have the the existing or former building location, and we are proposing a new structure on the property that will conform to the front, improve the left side, it will conform on the right side, and it'll also bring it into conformance on the rear. Existing structure was 21 feet, and now we're at 31. So, it's a two-story structure. It's another one, luckily, that is not in the flood zone. And that's essentially what he's hoping to do. It just improve on the situation a bit. We want to get it more than 5 off that left sideline. And it does do that. Also, I'd like to point out, speaking with the homeowner today, those 2 sheds in the back are no longer there. I didn't realize that, or I would have adjusted that on the plan, but the plan was prepared a while ago. But those sheds are not in the back anymore. Other than that, the setbacks for the proposed house is exactly where it's gonna wind up.
okay. Do we have anything from the board?
I have no questions.
Just so I'm clear, the original one special permit we approved,
Yep.
it met all setbacks.
Yep.
Now we're,
So what he's doing is originally he didn't realize he would grow out of, so he's amending his first, he's amending the special permit with a new one.
Right.
Right, catch on in.
Sure. I was just gonna ask you.
Basically what happened was we'd approved the work based on the architectural site plan, and the plan was to site it within the setbacks. Now, once they actually engaged Rick and Stenbeck and Taylor, they went out there and they located the actual existing building before it was demolished. And then once it was demolished, then they started citing, the location of the building and realized, oh, this is like the size of the building that we want. It's not didn't meet what the architect had kind of shown. So that's why they're kind of looking for a modification or a new special permit. Now, all of this demolition and everything, all of this was done legally and completely in compliance, and Mr. DeRosa has had multiple meetings with me, and so has Mr. Servant about this project. So I felt like this was an easy modification that fell within the, at least, at the very least, the 2-year period that the bylaw states for a non-conforming structure to be reconstructed.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Seeing that there's none, I'll make a motion that we close 2307 Wayne DeRosa, 60 West Street. Do I have a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Mark Cohen, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Rob Ramsey, aye.
Thanks, Grover. And I move that the board vote to grant the petitioner's request for a special permit, subject to the conditions. This will require a building permit, a final as-built plan, certificate of occupancy. Did we have anything else we needed in there? I think that's it. To permit the alteration or extension of a non-conforming home and garage, allowing the raising and reconstruction of a new 49-foot by 39-foot, two-story, single-family dwelling at the property located at 60 West Street, shown on the location plan by Stenbeck and Taylor, Incorporated, Rich Savant, PLS, showing proposed location of the home dated January 17th, 2023. The architectural elevation plans from Mohammed Hussein, PE dated January 2023, based on the finding that the applicant has demonstrated that they meet all the requirements in this section, and we agree with 1 to 10 on the special permit.
I do.
I do.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mark Cohen, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
I do have one,
Rob Ramsey, aye.
I'm sorry. What, I'm just, my own knowledge, the special permit that's already on record, this is an amendment to it, and that is overridden, the one that's...
It's applied for as a new permit,
This is a brand new permit,
so you'd have to record it before you can get your building permit.
right, the one that's currently on record now,
Yeah,
it's just,
it's out there, but you're
Right.
not building pursuant to it, so
yeah, with never a permit filed, a building permit filed on it or anything, so it's just gonna,
it'll lapse because you're never gonna exercise it.
yeah.
And essentially, your new permit's gonna go beyond what was allowed in the other one, so it would be moot anyway.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that.
The one?
Right now?
Oh, no, I mean,
Yeah.
we're done there.
I forgive me, yep.
Yeah, thanks. Are you doing the deck? No.
No,
No,
I'm done,
no.
that's it for me.
So now, the one that we're doing tonight, is that 2266? Or Riccarelli, 2267?
Thank you very much.
All right, so 2266, Peter Bethanis, 1184 Ferry Street is continued till when?
Again?
Well, right now, their extension agreement is through February 28th.
But we're gonna need more time.
So we'll need more time, and they still haven't gone through conservation yet. They're still waiting. I guess there's a mooring issue.
Okay.
We're trying to work out.
Do we still keep it then, or move it? What do you do normally do?
If it's on the agenda and you haven't heard from him,
Actually, you can talk.
I spoke with
He's
Mr.
still
Seabrook
on.
today.
I have to.
he's on the line.
Yeah, he's here for both of the Ferry Street ones.
Okay.
Who is?
Paul Seabrook?
Hey,
Oh, okay.
everybody.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here for both projects. We did request a continuance for Dennis at 1184 Ferry Street. We're still trying to work out some issues regarding the moorings with the harbor master and also get conservation approval first.
Do you have an estimate on a time frame for that?
So we plan to
Did they
meet with
give you an idea?
conservation on March 1st. So we'd like to push the ZBA hearing probably, at least a couple weeks after that.
What do we have in March? So
Second meeting in March.
March 28th.
do you want, is March 28th acceptable?
Yes. Yep, that would work for us.
All right, so
We
to
do
a
a
date
motion.
certain, a motion to a date
Yep,
certain
you got enough
for,
people here. Grover's
um,
here too, so.
okay. Make a motion to, continue the hearing to a date certain of 3/28
Yeah, at 6:30,
at 6:30 for 1184 Ferry Street,
at the request of the applicant.
at the request of the applicant. Number 22-66. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Mark Cohen, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Rob Ramsey, aye.
Good?
Yep.
Sold. So then you're doing 1203, what is it? 1203 Ferry as well? So
Yes,
we don't have
that's
to read that back in, right? Because it's continued.
It's already
right?
been opened.
Okay. Want to go ahead? Paul, you want to go ahead and explain what we're,
Sure, do you want to pull up the plan or is it just somebody to discuss it?
Andrew?
I don't see him sitting there.
Peter's not there.
1 second.
Want me to go see where he is?
Do you want to text him?
All right,
Oh,
grab them,
okay.
drink water.
Do you want to pull up 1203?
Yep.
so my name is Paul Seaberg. I'm from Grady Consulting. I'm here for the proposed dock at 1203 Ferry Street. So this is, the site's located across the street from the existing dwelling at 1203 Ferry Street. It's Assessor's Parcel I-1524-22. The site is located in the B4 zoning district. Currently it consists of an existing deteriorating dock. There's a salt marsh resource area, and tidal flats which extend out to the South River. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing dock, construct a new dock. It will be 117 feet long with a 37.5 foot long ramp and an 8 foot by 20 foot wide float. The design was recently approved by the Harbor Master, and an order of conditions was issued by the Conservation Commission. And as indicated by Andrew in the flood zone permit, a variance would not be required due to the fact that there's currently an existing dock there, and I'll let Andrew confirm that. The applicant is requesting a special permit as required by the zoning bylaw. The proposed dock will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood, in our opinion, since it's an allowed use and is common to the area along the South River. And also the design is consistent with other similar docks on the abutting properties. That said, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
All right, Andrew?
Yeah, I agree. Paul's done the floodplain permitting. He has gone through conservation. We've done site visits to walk the site. As I just showed on the other picture, there is an existing kind of old decrepit dock on site. So it is non-conforming in nature in the fact that there is an existing accessory structure on a separate parcel without a principal structure. So in that regard, I felt that they didn't need a variance because they already varied in that regard, and it was non-conforming. So in that regard, it was more just an extension of the non-conformity, or relocation. I'm sorry, a relocation of an existing non-conforming structure, an extension.
So we just make that the variance like a,
It's a special permit
Variance is
for
withdrawn.
relocation and extension of an existing accessory structure.
You can deny it as moot, or the applicant can withdraw it, either one.
so what would you like to do, Mr. Sid? Would you want to withdraw it, or do you want us to just deny it as moot?
You can just withdraw it.
Well, you would have to submit something in writing stating that you're withdrawing it.
Right.
Is
Paul,
that
can you
something
send a
that
letter?
do?
Can you send a letter to Nancy?
Yep, that's not a problem.
All right,
And I'd also like to just confirm, like, we just sent revised plans to Nancy this afternoon that reflect the revisions
what
to
this
the
is?
Conservation Commission. So basically, the difference between this plan and that plan is we just shifted everything 10 feet back from the South River. So that's really the only difference between the two plans.
So when you approve it, make sure you just reference the updated plan.
Now, the updated plan is dated January 18th, 2023.
That's correct.
Paul, by any chance, I'm just curious, do you know how old the existing dock is that's shown on your plan?
Unfortunately, I do not. But based on the looks of it, it seems to be very old.
Oh, yeah.
Say when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah,
That old?
Yeah, that old.
yeah, very old.
All right. Does anybody, anything from the audience? Anything else from the board?
It's at least 1995.
I would walk out on it. That's all I have to say.
I'm familiar with it. I've always wondered, like, how old is that thing? So, just more curious than anything.
All right, do we need to go through the special permit stuff?
If you would, I'm sorry, Heidi. to
That's okay.
interrupt.
No,
Paul,
go ahead.
if you wouldn't mind just updating the floodplain permit with the most current plan from the Conservation Commission, please.
Yep, sure, no problem.
Thank you.
So can we pull up the special permit standards? One through,
I
is
have the
it,
docs, condition.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention as well is the applicant would like to have water for the dock.
That's not a zoning issue.
Okay.
Okay, so we just go right to the, I'm gonna close it first, right?
Paul, I'm sorry, Paul, just add that to the floodplain permit so that we can address that with the plumbing inspector, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so
I'd add electricity too while you're at it. Word to the wise.
Okay.
Okay, I move to close 22-67, 1203 Ferry Street.
Second?
All those in favor?
Mark Quo and I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi, tell me aye.
Carl Ramsey, aye.
So we need this, does everybody agree with the standard for special permit, 1 through 10?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, okay. I move to grant the special permit for 22-67, 1203 Ferry Street as the new plan
January 18th, 2023.
dated January 18th, 2023.
Myself, Brian.
Anything else to add to that?
In accordance with.
Subject to the standard conditions
Subject to standard conditions.
of the dock.
For the dock. Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Mark Quo and I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi, call me aye.
Carl Ramsey, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night as well.
So the only other thing we have, Nancy, is 73 Indian.
Why are you
Okay.
here?
Because I watched your TV show, beginning your first one on H Branch Street, and so I'm bringing this in to show you how the house next to me that you let me build, if Bob's right, that there's more than one sideline, and you illegally issued the permit for the guy who built the house next to me.
So 73 Indian Road, Homer would like to demo the attached garage area in front of and rebuild the two-story addition in the same footprint and hopefully on the same foundation. They currently conform to all setbacks, but lot is undersized.
Let me show you what happened.
You got this, Andrew?
This is
Yeah, so, this was brought to the building department, and I just kinda wanted to get the opinion of the ZBA if I could, and maybe poll the board. I don't know if I can even poll the board or not on something like this, but they have an existing two-car garage. And basically, what they're proposing to do is just, do a one-story, two-car garage in the same spot. But the thing about it, they're not gonna change the footprint or anything, but they have a non-conformity. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think, it's the lot size, because they're R1.
Yeah, and they're
So
under.
the only non-conformity is their lot size. Otherwise, they conform to all zoning stepbacks. And literally, all they want to do is demolish the existing two-car garage and rebuild it to the same height, in the same footprint, with the same design. And so the question is that kind of an alteration or reconstruction on a non-conforming lot, does that require ZBA approval, or is that something that the ZBA feels that I, as the building commissioner, can approve on my own recognizance?
What do you think?
If someone doesn't agree with their approval, can they appeal it and come see us?
They can appeal it, they certainly can, but if there's no notification to abutters, what would have to happen was, they would have to notice that construction had begun. They would have
This is one of the
to
bylaws. we wanna
request,
fix.
an enforcement from me and cite a specific violation of the building code or zoning code or general bylaws. I would have to find that that was accurate and then issue a notice of violation and a stop work order.
So I know that you can, on pre-existing non-conforming structures, Andrew, you can give them deck approvals remove and replace. I thought you could do them in the spots.
On decks, I certainly can. Decks are different. Decks have different setback regulations. So, you know, like, those are a little bit different. But this is a kind of a technical question, and it's one of these technical questions that we've been posing to the board the last couple of years.
Exactly, looking to change.
U-shaped buildings where they want to fill in the middle of the U, but yet it's a non-conforming structure, but obviously that filling in isn't going to violate any setbacks, and you know what I mean? It's these technical things of like, you know, you gotta read the bylaw, and the bylaw says one thing, and it says it's supposed to go to one thing, but either you read 40A, and 40A says the ZBA has the ability to determine, you know, that the, you know, zoning administrator or zoning enforcement officer.
Are we allowed to do this, Bob?
No.
We have a pre-existing,
Andrew, if he decided to do this work piecemeal, effectively one wall at a time, you would not be posing this question. It's because the applicant proposes to do it all at the same time. that-
Correct.
Okay. I think it's a distinction without a difference, and I would be inclined to defer to your professional call. I don't think you need to, personally, I don't think you need to involve the zoning board.
Bob just wants to get caught up.
so these, yeah. The only non-conformity, it's a 28,000 square foot lot in acre zone.
Okay.
So the question is, can he just give them the permit to tear down the garage and rebuild it in the same footprint?
Same
No
footprint?
changes.
Yeah, I think under 902 he could.
Okay. Nope. So Bob says under 902 you can, Andrew.
That's great. That's exactly the answer I wanted. That's the
That is
purpose of
902.
having this business session, so I appreciate it.
That's good. That's a good answer. All right.
Yeah.
The provision
thank
says
you.
if you don't change.
Now,
What's
do
the
we just-
sideline setback on that, Andrew?
Sure.
20 feet.
What a jerk.
I know it's 20 feet, and they got 28.
Yes, it is 20 feet from that
Troublemaker.
sideline.
Troublemaker.
Let me go with that,
Oh,
Bob.
yeah, I know you're not. Good dog.
So do we only have,
Minutes, time and done.
so are we reading them in and approving them, or do we already approve
Or,
them?
you have to sign them and just.
Okay.
Board can accept
So
them.
just say the dates and we'll approve them.
January 10th, 2023, and January 24th, 2023.
So what do we do?
Move to approve?
Move to approve.
Scrivener's errors.
Scrivener's errors.
Second?
All in favor?
Mark Cole and I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye?
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway,
Thank you.
motion to
Thanks.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Mark Cole and I.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye?
Brian Sullivan, aye?
Heidi Conway,
All right.
whatever.